Greetings. Today is April the 17th, 2014. This is the Ghetto Free Press, and I'm George Boston Rhines. Today marks the fourth day of a high-profile voting rights case dealing with the Quitman 10+2. As you know, Lula Smart, one of the Quitman 10+2, was tried in September of last year, 2013. That trial ended up in a mistrial. So this week, the Lula Smart trial was brought back by the state of Georgia. This is the fourth day. Yet, little to no news coverage about this case has been published to the general public. And we intend to show you how a very high-profile case concerning voting rights seems unimportant to ABC News in the South Georgia area, CBS, WALB, Fox, MSNBC across the nation, CNN, as well as many other news media outlets that proclaim to respect the rights of voters. Yet, the Quitman 10+2 case seems to be deliberately ignored. I'm about to show you this meeting. This is a J.C. Cunningham, a person running for the state representative for the South Georgia area, went to a public meeting in the state of Georgia in Brooks County. The Secretary of State are aware of the problems in Brooks County. This particular meeting was recorded. The Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, are fully aware of it. You're going to see his investigator that he sent down listening to the complaints concerning the Brooks County Board of Education and the election process. But you don't know nothing about this because nobody in the state of Georgia reported on this except the Ghetto Free Press, of course. I do this because when I found out as a retired military veteran, just like this particular case with Lula Smart of being ignored, other things in South Georgia was deliberately, beyond question, omitted. And we don't want to get too far into that, but you can look at clips beneath this video. So I want you to listen to what was brought out at a public meeting, and the Secretary of State, Brian P. Kemp, was sent complaints, valid complaints, made by these citizens in attendance at this particular meeting for the purpose of this investigator taking this information back to Brian P. Kemp. Now, if you follow the other video in back of this one, we'll show you with Lula Smart case how a postal worker did not know anything about the Privacy Act and protecting citizens' rights. You will see other people in position of power not knowing the basic information about how they should govern and serve the people here in the state of Georgia. Without any delay, I want us to journey and get a glimpse of what has been ignored here in the state of Georgia, just like the Lula Smart case that's in court for 3 days, and yet people are asking, where are the South Georgia news media? Where are they? We just had the former Brooks County school lawyer to speak yesterday. And you should have seen the contact that he had with John Boone, the man in the post office who took information off of ballots and sent it to a private citizen or private investigator, and then we just don't know what's going on. And yet, nobody seems to care about what takes place along the lines of voting. And the news media, listen, can you imagine? Not in Russia, not in China, not in Afghanistan or Iran or Afghanistan, but right here in the United States of America, we are entering the 4th day of this trial. No news media are covering any of the beef of what's going on. And it is indeed a disgrace to all of our men and women in uniform who are fighting for the rights of foreigners. Do you understand me? Fighting for the rights of foreigners while their mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers, and cousins and neighbors' rights are not even being published on the major news media outlets that has gotten every civil rights organization involved. Senator Steele, the late Senator Robert Brown, Representative Tyrone Brooks, Representative David Lucas, Helen Butler, Mostello of the SCLC, former president of the Georgia State Conference, the NAAC, Elwood DuBose, even Reverend Joseph Lowry came to Brooks County. Can you believe that? And spoke at the Church of Christ. But not one valuable piece of information from this trial, Lula Smart trial, has been presented to the people in Brooks County, Lowndes County, South Georgia, the state of Georgia, the United States of America, or the world. Because it seems like they want to take these outstanding citizens down to ruin. Now let's listen to this public meeting that were ignored by the local media and newspapers and television and radio, as well as the Secretary of State, Georgia Attorney General, and the Governor, Nathan Deal. And we must understand that Nathan Deal was the one that removed the people that was on the Board of Education from the board and later had to put them back on, because it's over 3 years and a half almost, and these outstanding citizens are still waiting to go to trial. And I don't understand where our civil rights organizations are this morning. They should be in Brooks County. And the news media, well, that's another story for another time. Let's listen and let's see.
There's nothing again in anything I've read that said a person must have a driver's license or a picture ID to get a sample ballot.
Can you imagine? In Brooks County, the election board is so messed up that people have to show their driver's license just to get a picture of a sample ballot. And this is the representative from Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp's office. This is a bona fide, trained, certified investigator out of Brian P. Kemp's office, and the citizens tell me that nothing has been given to them since this individual came to Brooks County to take their complaints. It's like as if though a tree fell in the forest, our children were sitting beneath the tree, and yet the news media tell us the tree didn't fall, and worse than that, they say the forest don't even exist. So let's go back. I'm going to be quiet, and I want you, well, just listen. Listen, it's a lot here. I'm gonna show a little bit. Listen.
Again, what I want to make plain and clear is that that's another form of intimidation, whether it was meant to intimidate or not. It was a form of intimidation. What I would like to see in this investigation, it's never been my my call to have anyone terminated or anyone going to jail. My thing is that everyone has a right to vote, and everyone who is eligible has a right to register to vote. And when you
this is the form.
This person doesn't have a drive. There's nothing again in anything I've read that said a person must have a driver's license or a picture ID to get a sample ballot. Sample ballot. Again, what I want to make plain and clear is that that's another form of intimidation, whether it was meant to intimidate or not. It was a form of intimidation. What I would like to see in this investigation, it's never been my call to have anyone terminated or anyone going to jail. My thing is that
the reason I put this over and over again is because I want everybody to understand that something is seriously wrong in the state of Georgia and the election process. And for this meeting not to be acted upon from the Secretary of State's office, according to voters in Brooks County, yet bring 12 outstanding citizens, simply because, in many people's opinion, it was the first time in the history of Brooks County that blacks held a majority. Let me repeat, that blacks held a majority on the Brooks County Board of Education. And this was brought out in this week's court case already. And so it must be real. Let us continue, because you have a right to know the truth.
Everyone has a right to vote, and everyone who is eligible has a right to register to vote. And when you do anything to impede that is paramount to voter suppression, and we can't allow that. That should not be allowed, and that's where I would like to see this investigation go. See, I think when the investigation is truly looked at, beyond candidates' names being off the ballot, beyond wrong ballots going out to folks in the community, that we have a person that's running a very, very important job and has a very important position, but he is not trained to do that position. And that cannot be allowed, because when we allow someone who's not trained.
Speaking of training, if you was in the courtroom to hear Miss Linda Ford, I believe it was, when you listen to the testimony from John Boone at the post office, an 18-year employee, or when you listen to others that testified, and when you look at what they did not know, it tells you that something is wrong here in the state of Georgia. But you wouldn't know nothing about that, because I guess we are like Russia or China or some other third world nation. We don't have a news media to tell you what's going on in the state of Georgia. Listen to candidate J.C. Cunningham as he laid this out.
Position like that, and just the two comments that points I brought up, then what happens is people get mixed and lost in the system, and that's not right. Everything starts with the Board of Elections as far as our rights as citizens to affect the laws of this land. So if it gets stopped there, if one person is missed there, then the whole system is wrong. So somewhere along the line, I believe the Secretary of State's office needs to come in and relieve, be it temporarily or whatever, Mr. Collins or the Brooks County Board of Elections of their duties and responsibilities into someone who is trained properly and is signed off, so that the citizens of Brooks County can be confident that each one of their votes are going to be counted, and that everyone who wants to register or whoever who has the ability to register will have that ability.
And yet, candidate J.C. Cunningham made it perhaps clearer than anyone else. He made it so clear that even Ray Charles or Stevie Wonder could see it. Yet, according to what the people in attendance at this meeting said to me, George, what is the Secretary of State going to do about our complaints that we filed and DVDs that was given to the Secretary of State? What are they going to do about it? Well, if they ignored this meeting that was dealing with voting rights, I cannot understand where is Al Sharpton, where is CNN, where is Dateline, and definitely where is Eric Holder, Department of Justice. After all, we sent DVDs to Eric Holder of the United States Justice Department, and Tyrone Brooks and other representatives told me nothing has been done that we could see. So it seems as if though somebody really don't want the American people to vote and take part in the electoral process, but they sure want us to fight these wars. Let's continue.
You want to also do a statement,
yes,
sir? Okay, sir.
I've already done one statement on the website.
He had already done a statement. He did a statement here, and yet he says nothing has happened. So we must continue to ask. I'm sorry, y'all excuse me.
How long ago was that?
The day before the last Board of Elections meeting.
So you actually did it on our website and
yes,
submitted it to Atlanta?
Yes.
Okay. Would you mind doing another one?
Sure.
Okay.
Was it the 16th? 16th of June? July? Is that what it was?
I'll make another statement.
Yes, sir.
It's not on that one, but I don't think that we should get a... On the night of the election, on the night of the election, the election supervisor was very unprofessional because I know I've been around for a long time. That's right. This is my 5th term, and I've never seen an election supervisor that will go out to the general audience, you understand, and declare, you understand, that we are going to have a runoff before the votes are in. And that's exactly what Mr. Ken Collins was doing. He was saying, well, I know, you understand, that we are going to have a one runoff, and people just stunned, saying, well, how can he say that, you understand, when the votes are still coming in? Well, what happened? And when the votes, you understand, and the district you were talking about was District 5. That's right.
Now, wait a minute. Let me say this again. Now, this is Commissioner James Maxwell. He's on the Board of Commissioners. He also brought this up to the Board of Commissioners, and you can see all of that on this YouTube channel by just Googling the Quitman 10 playlist. And although what you're looking at was never reported in the news media in terms of what needs to be given to the voters so they could know what's going on, much like this case is going on now. This is a whiteout, just like the whiteouts of the mayor in Meigs, Georgia, and the mayor in Gordon, Georgia, and the mayor in Dawson, Georgia, and the mayor in Davisboro, Georgia, and other cities across Georgia where there's a black mayor. They are changing governments, and those mayors are suffering while the leaders in the state of Georgia turn their head the other way and bury their head in the sand like the legend concerning the ostrich bird. And it's time for a change. I'm not doing this of my own. I didn't create this. This was not staged. This is the commissioner.
That was a district that we were having all the problems in. What happened? So he assured, you understand, that everyone that was at the strike, the election area that night, he was assuring them that in District 5 we will have a runoff. But when all the votes was counted, there was no runoff. What happened? And to me, you understand, he was very disappointed. But he's supposed to be bipartisan. He's supposed to keep his mouth closed. That's something he's not supposed to be walking around, out there, among the public and telling, you understand, the people who running, that we're going to have a runoff. That's right. And that's something that he, shall not do. He cannot do. See that, but he did.
Once again, this investigator is from out of Macon, but he is Brian P. Kemp, the Secretary of State investigator. He came down to Brooks County. They are fully aware of all the problems. The problem is not just the Quitman 10. It's just not about Lula Smart, but it seemed like the suppressing of voting problems in Brooks County is a part of a bigger picture that deals with the black mayors in the state of Georgia that are being totally ignored. And the news media, according to those mayors, will not tell the complete story. It's one-sided. The mayors that met in over in Hinesville, I wasn't there, but they called me, but I couldn't be there because I had another obligation. But there is something seriously wrong in the state of Georgia, especially South. I'm sorry, excuse me again, I'm sorry.
We're going to follow up on that too, but
Can I just make one comment? Something that I'm
Yes, ma'am.
really confused about. How can a 501c3 corporation file a complaint? I thought it was, to my knowledge, that an elector had to file a complaint. And I do not understand, especially a 501c3 non-profit organization being allowed to file a complaint.
I can't answer it.
I know.
Right, but you address.
And another question. I'm confused about this.
Yes, ma'am.
I mentioned to you earlier that the rules change it overnight for some reason.
And that's something I've been saying to you all. In Georgia, the rules change overnight. And sometimes they change within the hour. And some of these black mayors, like Miss Mayor Harris in Meigs, she wants to talk to the governor. She have called the governor's office. She have called other elected officials in the state of Georgia, but nobody will pay her any attention. It's like as if though she's in a world by herself. The civil rights organizations, the NAACP, the SCLC, Operation Push, and G.B.R and others, it seems like they're not concerned about voting rights. It seems like it's all a game now. These mayors need help. I'm sorry, let's listen to Ms. Gibbs.
But the little legal knowledge that I know, notarized statements. The purpose is to validate a notarized statement. And once that notarized statement is notarized, there cannot be any changes on a notarized statement. But my question is, how can you change a notarized statement and it be legal?
Mr. Archie, were you with the actual investigator that came down 2 weeks ago and met with the people here in Brooks County?
I was here a couple weeks back, sure was.
Were you provided the film from that Board of Elections meeting?
Listen now, because people can call me a bigot, they can call me a racist, they can call me a hater, they can call me a minister of Satan, they can call me a minister of Jesus Christ, they can call me a minister of Muhammad or Allah or Jah or El Shaddai, but lay all that aside. Continue to criticize me. But did I not tell you all that we had a public meeting? And I'm glad JC is bringing that up, because it did happen, just like he's saying. Now listen, please.
You're addressing something that's, of course, on the internet, I guess?
Yes, sir.
I can't answer any questions about my investigation. So.
Okay, but my question, were you provided that we had made a CD for your office? Did you get that CD?
I have not been given a CD.
Mr. Ryan, do you still have that CD?
I've sent it to the Secretary of State's office.
Oh, you have?
I sent it on the web. I sent it to them. I did. And if not, I will give all that information to you.
Can you spell your last name, sir?
Rhines, Georgia, Boston, Rhines, R-H-Y-N-E-S.
Yes, sir.
Boston G.B.R is a YouTube for that, but I'll make sure that you get that. And I did.
I would like to add this moment also.
But we haven't heard nothing.
We have a lot of voters that are totally
Yes, ma'am.
But the confusion is about the whole election process. For example, in previous years, those people who needed assistance in reading, my understanding is this time we didn't have that. This is the first time since 1965 that people were not allowed to assist those who are not as technical savvy or informed to assist others. And, like I told you, I didn't have time to get all the statements in, but I will get those statements.
Yes, if you could furnish those to me, I'll follow up on that too. I will follow up on that if you give me those statements.
And I understand that Mr. Collins is working to diversify the poll workers and poll watchers. My specific complaint regarding that, I was on the one that was mid-training in April. Few days after that, I submitted my application to him for a poll watcher and or poll worker, and I understand that process, but I have not heard or received a response from him to date. And my position about that is, if he will focus on what we need for him to do as far as an elections board supervisor, then maybe we would not have these problems today.
We must also say that Attorney King brought out in the trial this week that the Brooks County former registrar hired her daughter, and deputized her and 2 other people to help her with the processing of absentee ballots. And the mayor asked her if did she put her granddaughter on payroll, and she said yes. And then the question was asked by Attorney King, was that position advertised to the general public so anybody could have put in an application to get that job? And she said no, she didn't. So you be the judge in that situation, and we got to find out what's going on in the state of Georgia, especially with our black mayors. Listen, please. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
I have copies of the statements. I did receive confirmation that your office.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you good.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Archie, one of the reasons why I asked about the film, because actually and we're going to provide another CD, I guess, but on that CD, Mr. Collins and the chairman of the Board of Elections admitted that they, in fact, changed a notarized document.
Okay.
And they felt that was, well, I think her exact words were, but that's my...
Now, if they change a notarized statement or document, and if Georgia Secretary of State are concerned about voting in the state of Georgia, this should be a very high-profile meeting. This case among these citizens in the state of Georgia and the United States of America should be pushed to the top of the list so these complaints would be investigated. You had better wake up. You had better.
It's not anything, that's not a big deal. Why are we getting upset about those things? Again, I think the quote is, perception is reality. And the perception is that things are done their own way and not done.
Once again, that's what I've been saying, and nobody seems to care. Once again, the Ghetto Free Press. Bye.
Has mandated that it be. And so, again, a whole community or a whole voice of a community is shut down because the perception is they're both not going to count anyway, because if they can change a notarized document, they definitely can change ballots, be it absentee ballots or whatever else. And I think that's the point that Mr. Maxwell is trying to make.
Yet,
that